Brothers. It's a common topic now, and I think it's really important. A general majority among the brothers thinks that restoration is a good idea, and today I want to represent that opinion and tell you what the reasons are for that. Number one, we believe that honesty isn't just with your mouth, what you say, but also with the language you use in your clothes and the language you use through your voice and other things. And it's kind of like, a woman dressing like a prostitute and then getting offended if somebody wolf whistles her. It's kind of like somebody walking on the street in a police uniform, and he gets offended when somebody wants help because he's not really a policeman. You see a lot of this in especially Western societies which are less formalistic and less visual. The Chinese language is written the way it is because it's a visual language, and it's spoken the way it is, very, very simple and almost digital, because it's not an oral language. And so you'll see more connection in China between, okay, this is what I'm wearing and this is what I'm trying to say, this is who I am. Whereas I notice a lot of Westerners and white people will sort of wear things or do things in contradiction to what they think or what they believe. And and I'm not talking about the bumper stickers or stupid sayings on your shirt or things like that. I think those are sort of ugly and cluttery and not really the place for literal debate. So yeah, we're not showing ourselves naked in a lot of places, maybe never, but if we were to be seen, let's say in a hot springs or in some sort of a public bathing situation with a mutilated penis, then you're making a statement that you're Jewish, basically, that you're part of a satanic club which cuts penises in a major way, something like 50 to 80% of the skin, and 2 miles of veins, 100,000 nerve endings, and pretty much the whole shebang of the object is in that tip part, and it's all gone for men who are mutilated, and the feeling and the sense of what's there seems to move. Now, restoration is so exciting because restoration can match our de-Jewing mental state, our moving away from Satanism and into the light and having a true religious practice then gets reflected in that we are whole, full men in our natural, glorious beauty, and that should pattern out. It's true that having a prepuce is a physical state, but if somebody cut your arm off and you could regrow the arm, would you do it? I think you should try, in a way, because it'll make you normally functioning in a lot of ways. It's not so simple that, okay, I'm de-Jewed in the brain and, well, my body doesn't matter, that I have this huge body modification. It's so heinous and ugly, and people don't realize what a massive sin that is. Not just the act, but the look that it leaves is nauseating, disgusting, unbelievable perversion of the creation that God made, the plan that we have. And there's a dialogue between the body parts and the mind. So an amputee victim has something they call ghost pains, and so really he always feels that the part he's missing is there, and it's always driving him nuts. And this is what happens to genital mutilation victims, and they sometimes don't realize it because the mutilation happens so young that your psychological reaction and coverings of the event seem to quote unquote normalize. Like, you think this wacky stuff going on in your head is normal, and really the only time, I'm going to get graphic here, so kids, plug your ears, but adults only. But if the head of the penis is touching anything other than other skin, there is an alarm going on in your head, because the sex force is for procreation only. It is for sex. It is not MIPS, recreation, love life, or soulmate, or all of that. It's a big alarm that goes off that says this is a huge event in your life. For our hard working ancestors like the Puritans and the people who really built our societies, these people were not wankers, and they were much stronger, much more intelligent than we are, and they too were continent, and they were not wankers. And so the point in when that head would come out and actually contact something else other than his own skin is a point of huge alarm. It's like if he's going to have 5 kids in his life, that moment will come 5 times. But the way Jews are is that alarm is going off in their head. It's like a big siren or a red light, and that's going off 24/7 when they're sleeping, when they wake up, when they're doing everything they talk about, that comes from this community. These special white people are always talking about perverse stuff, bodily functions, stuff I would really rather not deal with on these podcasts and other things, and we sometimes we're forced to deal with because they're so common. But they're coming from this group of people. Like, for example, why is it when you turn on YouTube for the first time, your suggested videos are all just a bunch of perverse crap you just wouldn't believe? The first time I got onto YouTube after getting my VPN and getting over the Great Firewall of China to reuse YouTube, the first suggested video to me, now again, kids, plug your ears, is a quote-unquote funny music video about a grandma that loves anal sex. That was the first video suggested to me from this So Gay Bringe YouTube. That's the first thing I got. And if nothing else, what a huge waste of our time. But these people, anybody, and so I'm not just going to point at the special white people. We have a lot of Arabs, Muslims, you have South Koreans, you have basically a large concentration in Africa and the Middle East, where the men have this alarm going off 24/7. There was a moment in Jewish history, I can't remember in which century, maybe like the 4th century, when they started some new practice. Instead of cutting off a part of this prepuce, all of it is very valuable, they changed it to cutting off a ton of it instead of 1% or a marking or something like this that could be hidden in public view for the Greek Olympics. They decided to do something that you absolutely cannot cover up and is extremely damaging. And this includes the removal of the frenulum, which is also a device or a part of the body that every man should have. Now, I wouldn't tell you should have that if you couldn't get it back, but you can. And so that's why we recommend being, number one, be covered. If you just have to use hockey tape or some kind of, breathable tape for skin to just, pull over the top and cover yourself. That alarm is going to shut off, and you'll have a lot greater peace of mind for your meditation, and you'll wonder why you never did that before. Then, the recommended method, we posted at the KBH about the metal puds. They're sort of expensive, like $50, $100. I have a couple friends in Nanjing. They make them for about $15. But that was a recommended method about a year ago. And then a new discovery was made, something called the air pud, or the air method, the balloon method, which uses the nipple of a baby bottle hooked up to a tube, which can be then pumped with air, and under the baby bottle is a balloon which expands as you pump it, and the skin that you're growing is clamped between the baby bottle and so it sounds complicated. It's very easy to make. There are diagrams on the internet. I have heard that this method is miraculous. It is many times faster than any other method, and I think of this as a miracle, a sign from God as well, saying that regeneration is possible, because the metal pods that they're making and selling for $50 or $100 each on the internet today have been around for thousands of years. And they're finding them at archaeological digs. They find them, and it's very obvious when you see one, because the shape that a man wants for that, they make it that shape, and they made them out of copper, which I think is a more ideal material even than the medical stainless steel. But so anyway, I want to express that you need to get that alarm off, calm yourself, and it's a dialogue between things. On the one hand, the spiritual reality that you are de-Jewing, you are becoming not so sexualized and perverted and weird. You're going away from that, and you're moving away from Satanism and into true religion. Okay, that's going to pattern out into your physical state. But the body is not 100% physical. None of these parts are, especially when you're talking about a bundle of nerves like the prepuce. Nervous tissue is very hard to regenerate in general, and the fact that men can regenerate is a miracle of great, great proportions. A caveat is that this process could take a lot longer than you expect, depending on the degree to which you were damaged. And the only thing I can say to those guys is, I hope you don't get discouraged and that you stick with it and finish it, because we don't, also for society, for the outside world, we don't want to be showing our bodies in this mutilated way and saying, this is fine, this is okay, or I'm Jewish or Muslim or South Korean or African. We're all the same. I can be a rapist too. I don't have a frenulum. I can do donkeys and goats and rear ends and anything my perverse mind might want, because really it's just a dull, dry pole down there, which you might not realize has very, very little feeling and is only giving you this emergency feeling. Because, look it up folks, the tip of the penis has only the nerves which are there to feel pressure and pain. Those are the only nerves left in a mutilated penis. On the shaft it's mostly nerves that feel pain, and then on the tip it's the nerves that feel pressure. And when that pressure is on there, if it's just rubbing in your pants, could you imagine if a female had her urethra, the urine hole, sticking outside of her body? We would probably want to throw up. And that's the way we should feel when we see these poor mutilated men, because that's exactly what they have. It's the urethra is just sticking straight outside, and it's an incredible mutilation. It's horrible. Now, this is an alarm that should only be coming off in your head when you're making children. It should be a state that you're in very rare points in your life, not on a daily basis, rubbing in your pants and constantly having that. Psychologically, you've covered it up. It's sort of tuned out in a certain way, but it's there. It's covered up, and it's still there, going off. It's like an alarm that somebody put a pillow over it, and when you can finally pull off the pillow and shut off the alarm, there should be a very enormous feeling of calm and peace, and that's what we want. I had something else on the tip of my tongue, something I wanted to add, but there are restoration communities, guys, that will talk to you about possible issues. It's mostly for coaching, self-coaching, to make sure that you're doing the stretching and stuff that you need to do on a daily basis. It's a habit. It's a yoga. It's not that simple, and it takes some determination. But even then, it should bring tears to your eyes and an amazing reverence for God, our Creator, that we can regenerate this. And again, this comes from the myth of Shiva. Maybe Shiva was part of this, maybe in a less physical way. He was attracted to Kali. I think all of us have been at some point. We say, oh, soft boobs, women, milk, the earth, mother, but Kali also has knives, and she's got, I don't know how many hundred men's heads made into a necklace, meaning that this Mother Earth is a winch. She's a real bitch. So when he gets sexually, he has a sexual union with her, and she steals his penis, and he has to go into a journey to regain his penis. And I think this is definitely a spiritual tale, not a physical one, for the most part, because it's not like the bobbit, where he could find it in the grass and get it put on again in a haphazard way pretty quick. The story of Shiva regaining his manhood is more of an epic tale, more of a journey, a great journey west, a great journey where he rediscovers his manhood. And I think all of us that have gone from bad habits to chastity are regaining our manhood, and this restoration should be a part of it to varying degrees. We've got the officially stated levels of C1 to C9 of what level you are restored at. I think every guy that's been mutilated or harmed should restore to some level to express his fidelity to the male race, the male. Finally, I got into a debate with a Russian feminist. I really appreciate Pine Grove, his channels, taking it to the feminists. And so she said, I think there should be equality for men and women. And so I just sent her a picture of a circumstraint with a boy in the circumstraint. Like, equality? Is that what you want? You're going to get belted down then, woman. I think this is a really important debate point that we need to take to the women who are lusty for more power and greater social status, and i.e. the feminists. Take it to them that about a third of the men in the world are genitally mutilated, and probably, I don't know, maybe 1% of women are. and it's among the animal kingdom, it's practically universal. All of the male animals, cows, pigs, goats, and things will be mutilated and be castrated and things. And if we want gender equality, hopefully we go the other direction, which brings us to the point where the feminist needs to quit the feminist job and start helping the men get to an equal level with women. That's the point where we're at right now. We're not at the point where women need more rights. They are far and beyond that stage. So anyway, I think this is a good point that you can bring up. Another one is, the victim status. Are you going to say, I was crimped as a baby for the rest of your life? Will you use this as an excuse? Will you go beyond getting an apology from your parents, but milk your parents or blame society forever? I think it's a good idea to heal from circumcision, to learn the lessons of it, and if you heal from it, you'll be stronger than a man that never went through this. And also it makes a very strong debating point against feminists, not particularly to tell your personal story, but the fact that so many men suffer through this, and you don't even want to even talk about rape, as if, I don't know if hardly any of rape that women complain about is even real, but I would guess most of that rape happening against women is happening from crimped men who have no frenulums. And this comes back to the point, why did these mothers sign the paper saying, torture my son? And so this is where the karmic cycle goes back, and unfortunately the rapist is taking out his pain and his problems on other women who he sees as mother figures, and it turns into a huge mess, a big gender war, which is not necessary. I think men and women can just call it a truce, and when we're all chaste, we're practically the same. I mean, we'll go through a stage where we strengthen manhood, womanhood. We like, friends from our own genders, and we think that's great. But after a long time of being a yogi and in chastity, you lose this identity in that sense. You don't feel like, I'm a man, so I have to take certain positions against women, or vice versa with women. Really, most of the so-called gender war comes from recreational sexing, which unfortunately Barbarossa and some of these big so-called men's movement guys are pushing. If you get into an unclean life, it's a complete contradiction to say you want men's rights, but you think women should spread their legs for you, for nothing. I mean, it's pretty much the silliest thing I've ever seen, and I'm surprised it's such a popular talking point. So I think the goal for any man who has been through any kind of victimization, he should work to get over that and buck up and be tough and eventually just put it away. I don't know how you could put it away with a big fat scar on you and your internal organs hanging out of your body. That seems difficult to me and other brothers. I got a phone call, but anyway, Om to all of you brothers. Amen. With your mouth, what you say, but also with the language you use in your clothes and the language you use through your voice and other things. And it's kind of like a woman dressing like a prostitute and then getting offended if somebody wolf whistles her. It's kind of like somebody walking on the street in a police uniform, and he gets offended when somebody wants help because he's not really a policeman. You see, brothers, it's a common topic now, and I think it's really important. A general majority among the brothers thinks that restoration is a good idea, and today I want to represent that opinion and tell you what the reasons are for that. Number one, we believe that honesty isn't just with. So yeah, I mean, we're not showing ourselves naked in a lot of places, maybe never, but if we were to be seen, let's say in a hot springs or in some sort of a public bathing situation with a mutilated penis, then you're making a statement that you're Jewish, basically, that you're part of a satanic club which cuts penises. And a lot of this in especially Western societies which are less formalistic and less visual. You know, the Chinese language is written the way it is because it's a visual language, and it's spoken the way it is, very, very simple and almost digital, because it's not an oral language. And so you'll see more connection in China between, okay, this is what I'm wearing and this is what I'm trying to say, this is who I am. Whereas I notice a lot of Westerners and white people will sort of wear things or do things in contradiction to what they think or what they believe. And and I'm not talking about the bumper stickers or stupid sayings on your shirt or things like that. I think those are sort of ugly and cluttery and not really the place for literal debate.